Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Book Club of California's Southern California program titled Picture Book Talk. And thank you for joining us here at Pasadena Heritage in the beautiful and historic Blinn House. We love having our events here, and we hope you love coming here as much as we do. My name is Kevin Kosick, and I'm the Executive Director for the Book Club of California, and it's my pleasure to welcome you and host the program this evening. So thanks for being with us. For those of you that are new to the Book Club of California, we are a nonprofit, member and donor-supported organization that is dedicated to preserving and promoting the history of the book and the book arts. Oftentimes we do that with a focus on the history and the literature of California and the West. The Book Club publishes limited edition, finely made books, a scholarly journal, and keepsakes for our members. We host a year-round series of exhibitions and programs like the one this evening on topics including fine printing, design, typography, bookbinding, collecting, California history, and much, much more. Now, if you're not a member of the book club, you should be. Right? If your membership has lapsed, you should renew it, right? And if you're just interested in who we are and what we do, I urge you to consider joining our century-long tradition by becoming a member. Membership dues are modest, the benefits are many, and we simply can't do the work of the book club without the support of our members. So I encourage you to go online to bccbooks.org to find out more about us, to join or to donate, or you could come talk to me sometime this evening and I'll tell you all about it. Now, let's get started with our program. Tonight's program is titled Picture Book Talk, and our speaker is David Wing. David Wing is a third-generation Californian, and he has photographed the life and landscape of the American West for the past 50-plus years. He chose a major in visual arts at UCSD when that department opened in 1967, and then continued graduate study in photography in the School of Design when Cal Arts opened in 1970. He received fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts in 1977 and 1981, and from the John Simon Guggenheim Memorial Foundation in 1980. His work can be seen in the Museum of Modern Art in New York, the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, the Special Collections Departments of the Getty Research Library, Occidental College, and the UCSD libraries. Now, as a photographer in his 59th year of his serious study, is that right? 59 years of his serious study, of his serious effort. Tonight, David Wing will describe how his camera has found its subjects and what his working mind is like today, and how his accumulated work has aged in his intellect and in his heart. He'll talk about how his pictures come to light and how many of his recent books came to be. Now, if you have questions for our speaker, please wait to the end of the program. We will have time for questions and answers, and we'll take those questions and comments after David speaks. So now, please join me in welcoming our speaker, David Wing.
Okay, great to be here. Oop, I'll stand over here. Okay, well, I couldn't clone myself, so we're making two separate recordings of this talk, and it'll be put together in various ways, and I hope one of us will be able to decipher it when those are released. Thank you, Baron, for your share, and thanks to the book club for keeping the archive going. I learned a little bit by looking at myself on the archive videos. Okay, well, Kevin knows how to pronounce my title. He loves those square bullets. Anyway, this is an update of a talk I gave in October 2023 in San Francisco for the book club.
Get you a little closer to the mic.
Getting closer? Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
So we'll start with this, but I would like to dedicate this talk to our late friend Mike Sutherland, who was head of special collections at Occidental College, just over the hill. Just weeks before he passed away, I can't believe it's been 15 or 20 years, I showed him 6 or 8 maquettes of my upcoming projects. I had a stack of these, which I took over to show them. He asked me how many books were in the series, and I said 20. Well, I can't buy them all at once, he said. That was encouragement for a lifetime. I knew Mike only for a short while, but I carry his memory firmly within me, a man of books who never left my world of books. Okay, so I'll tell you about what kind of photographer I am with examples, but right now let's roll in here. Oops, we have to change the tablecloth. This is left over from the San Francisco time. Okay, now we can get moving. All right. This is the outline that I used for San Francisco, but I want to update this and refresh it because a few people saw that and I don't want them to fall asleep too soon. So here's the new one. Okay, Death Valley. Maybe I'm from somewhere else, and maybe I'm just now becoming adapted to this unfamiliar planet. Maybe I could be making a photographic survey to send to wise interpreters back home, but I know that no one there will believe what I see if I give it to them straight. So I drop back a half step and lean a little to the left. From that vantage, my intergalactic soulmates will appreciate in some fashion the grand ambiguity that I find here in this place. I made that up for a show called Mental Mapping. It's about spacemen coming to Earth, photograph it in a fresh vision. So those are my tripod holes. It looks like I walked around there, put my camera down and left, which is entirely possible. I may not have seen anything. So where did I come from? Here's my mom. She had the great privilege of going to University High School, which is run by Cal in the 30s and 40s. First class faculty. They did a semi-annual magazine. She drew this cover of the entire life cycle of a butterfly. There's Dad. He taught us how to do everything outdoors and build boats. His parents, master builder Harold, who put a house on the top of every hill in Highland Park back in the 20s. And his wife, Ruth, who taught us how to fish in the ocean, play poker, and body surf. Mom's dad, the double-bladed axe, and her mom, Claire, who wove that coat that she's wearing, and probably the dress underneath it. Kay Sekamachi came out of the internment camps and asked Grandma Claire if she would teach her to weave. So we grew up with Kay's beautiful weavings, and these are placemats we ate off every day. And now her stuff is completely out of this world. What I learned from my grandfather are very fine watercolors. Economy, color, and disappointment. I think I was there for this painting or another one off the same block when he was up at Silver Lake at the old cabin up there. And he was doing all this, and I said, "Hey, Granddad, you left that tree out." It was right in our face. And he said, "I don't want it there." And I was like, Jesus, my grandfather lied to me. That's why I remember that so clearly. I learned from my kids. My daughter's here in the Young Museum Bookshop. I built my son a little Volvo for his bedroom. He preferred books. This is what was in the library at home. I just discovered that this masterpiece of botany by Professor Jepson was actually published by the Sailor Gate Bookshop. That was a place. So I collect books for spreads like this, and I collect books for end papers. And I read books like this one. If you don't know this book, it's all you need to know to get started and have a working knowledge of from the beginning to now. And as you can see, it's beautifully designed with everything you need to know about the cover of the book written on it by a wonderful team. There's a book that inspires me. There was a Kickstarter project by a Marcin missionary. It's called Shift Happens. And he got interested in keyboards and produced a 3-volume break I still haven't finished reading it, so beautiful. But I want you to see how he stands out on a shelf. And then the middle volume, which is orange on the spine, shows me how boldly humble he is. Because it's just black until you hold it just right. And then the black varnish on the cover lights up for him. Brilliant. You may wonder why I scribbled, because these were the cards I had on my desk to sort out my pictures. And then they were lying around, so why not use them? Why set time when somebody scribbled? So here's my first book. At CalArts, there was an offset press, but nobody taught us how to use it. So a freshman and I was a grad student. We just went over there and started making plates, and we made a couple of books. So Steve Weir and I cranked this one out. There's a crude half-ton. While I was there, I started wandering around
Oh my God.
Burbank. Here I am in South Dakota. I found a Chandler and Price press in a barn. I didn't know anything, so I cleaned it all up and fired it up and hooked up the like 1.5 horsepower motor and the big leather belt and Ortison type. And I produced the Burnt Pie People's Press, which was a little newsletter for the Sinte Relation College, where I was on the faculty. I can't believe I still have all my fingers. Oops, I went fast. Prairie Views. This is the book I produced with Rex Heffman designing it with my first paycheck. 1,000 copies for $700. It was great old days. So these are my pictures from the prairie. Why waste time cutting wood? Just get more wood. Amazing place. And the distances were so great, you had to learn to shoot from the car. And I got really good, as you can see. Then back to California, where I was appointed to teach photography at Rosemont College, at Community College in just east of San Diego. There's a book about that. It's on the back called Field Trips. San Francisco, Cambridge. It's not a funeral, but it's kind of fun. Texas, great place. Houston. In the open road. I told you I learned from my kids. This is my daughter's world when she was 7 or 8. And you can look at it any way you want. This is my son's United States when he was a kid. The Bay Area, Point Reyes. He hadn't been to Cape Cod yet. And I've never seen a better cartographer do the Great Lakes. Those are a single swash. He's done. I mean, that's great. And then, you know, this is all I can do. This is nothing compared to what they can do. Yes, I used to teach. Then it was time to do other things. So I've been out of the classroom for over 20 years now, and people ask me if I miss teaching. I say, you know, I miss the students. And, but I did, education is sales, so I had to write my own sales pitches because none of the photography technical books really tell you how the materials work. So these are my own processes that really work. And, Pat White was a student of mine who could do anything with any art form, and I had him do the illustrations for him. How to agitate film, right, Bernd, and how not to. Okay, and these were the assignments. This is another one about pretending you're a spaceman and living it. And the kicker is from my mentor, Robert Shurgi, a neurophysiologist at UCSD Medical School. So my question was, what's really worth reporting? And then, should you communicate? If so, with whom? Curating. Yeah, we were a teaching institution, so there wasn't a lot of room for publishing or perishing, but there was a little bit of room for exhibitions and catalogs. So this is one I did for my late friend Duncan McCosker, called Bathers. And Rex designed it, and David Wynn wrote it, and Duncan did the beautiful pictures that outlived him. So all these books don't have my name on them. That's a problem. This one I did it as a class with a grant from the NEA exhibitions to dig up these old negatives that I found in South Dakota when I was out there. And they went to the Museum of Modern Art in various places around the country. And now they're being looked at again by some curators and collectors as things that really should be better known. So that's really gratifying, because the prints that we made then in the early 70s are older than the negatives we were working with when they were considered history. Unproved in history at that time. Design. I'm not a designer. This is a disclaimer. I just find stuff in the world. I did a show in a gallery in San Diego way back in 1991, I think. And then the ceramic letters were stored, and they were used again for a later show. And then the gallery was flooded by firefighters' water when the part of the building upstairs burned. So these were a gift from the gallery owner, Bob Blanc. So I just scanned them. Why try to twirl my letters, my name into something? There it is, and I just use it for everything. I didn't do this, and I don't think Andy Goldsworthy did it, but it's a pretty nice little piece of Death Valley. So that gave you an idea. Huh. Oh. Okay. The only thing I would do now is photograph a couple of different D's. You know, Gutenberg had a whole bunch of different M's he would use to get those perfect justifications on his 42-line Bible. So I need a bunch of different D's because it occurs twice in my own name. But I did design this for a friend of mine, a master woodworker. So did the whole thing, caps and business cards and branding iron. Never designed a branding iron before. So that imprints all of his wood projects. Henry Wessel handed me this because we were exhibiting his work at Rosemont College, and I was designing a catalog and writing a piece for it. He said, I want the cover to be real light and airy. I said, okay. So I got to here, and then I got to there. I'm very proud of this light touch here. It's just like him. So my office was 7 feet wide and 13 feet long and like 14 feet high, and it was like this weird elevator shaft. I didn't like it, so just before I retired, I got a load of 8-quarter mahogany and started making something out of it. So this is the floor plan for it. These are all the angled little shelves. There's an angled desk that's 13 feet long. There's a library that's locked under angled shelves. And there's an angled fountain, wall-mounted fountain. And the great pleasure in that was to work at my desk and lean back and look up at the ceiling. And my office was right, and the whole campus was 9 degrees right there. So, oops, that went fast, but we'll get back to that. That was a very nice portfolio that was put together by Alwyn O'Mara, and it's an album of silver prints. We decided that we couldn't get into the Getty collection because they're only buying pictures by dead photographers at the time. But the Getty Research Library was buying books. Bingo. This happens to be in the collection in San Francisco at the Blue Club, if you want to make arrangements with Kevin to view it. It was a gift from one of my former students who passed on recently, who purchased it before it was even produced. So that's dry spills. That takes us to flow states. John Robinson is a crackerjack letterpress guy at the Tortoise Press in San Diego. And I can call him up on the phone and say, you know, I want this ink that's kind of silvery and kind of blue, but not really anything of either. And he sends me a proof that's just the color I gave him on the telephone. So I don't know if you want to read that now.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Then another portfolio. Alvin built this box with museum glass, so you can see right through it like water. And there's a title page in there. This is still in a dummy form. Here are the prints. They're really big, but they're really beautiful if you ask me. So we decided to make something more portable, like miniature books. This book is bound in stainless steel filter cloth from a laboratory. It's 300 wires per inch. The only way you can see the title, which is behind the wire, is to hold the book straight on. If you tip it to the side, it disappears. And so there you go. John Robertson printed this. Why take pictures of the landscape? Just get the dirt and sift it and have Alvin glue it on the pages. So all the different colors of the western, southwest are black and green and red, yellow, and they're all in this book, and it's appropriately titled. But that was too small, and I liked the idea, so I said, let's make a cookbook with one recipe. Ah, now you're getting it. See that cue? John Robinson put on the adhesive ink for the drop cap, and Alvin sprinkled cinnamon on there. Because the recipe calls just for a dash of cinnamon, and it wouldn't go well with the other pages. That's in the Occidental College library, by the way. Mike Sullivan put his hand around it and wouldn't let go. And there's the recipe. It's a real cookbook. And it smelled so good, we put it in a plexiglass case to try to preserve the curry. Okay. Then that was kind of small, so I decided that Epson was producing wide rolls of printable Tyvek, which is that building wrap material, and you could print on it and make a book that wouldn't suffer from fingerprints or water stains or anything. So this is a really big book of pictures made in the US and Japan, and sometimes you can't tell where they were made. Broadsides. See, you can't find wall space anywhere, so we just go out there and get other stuff. That's another picture. It actually ends up on the cover of the book. So Alvin made me these banners with little roofs on them and one nail, so I could take a Floriat nail and just go ding, and that would be 6 or 8 or 2 or 3 photographs hanging on a single nail. And I could put together a show with 250 pictures with just like 40 nails. And that was called mental mapping. That's where this came from. Get rid of that. So they look like this: fire, a bunch of subject, earth. I didn't think of that. Water. I didn't do any air pictures. So the broadsides were interesting for a while because I had a printer that would do large sheets. But then in the end, where are you going to put them? This is an inventory of the tiny houses in Avalon. This one here is 521 square feet on 3/100 of an acre. What's that, like 1,200 square feet for a lot? Anyway, it's a wonderful little town. And I decided I would start photographing the houses from the teens and 20s. What happened? Oh, I'll come back to that. I'm sorry. I hope this one will stay. Yeah, okay. This is a little cell card. I can make these whenever I want. They're so inexpensive. There's no such thing as nothing. If it can be named, it is there. On a map, this basin looks empty. Some people might think that nothing is there, that nothing is going on. But here is substantial evidence that what they call empty is full of life. So I was on a plane going to Chicago, and this is the back of my boarding pass. You can see the old-fashioned print on it. And I designed this whole book in an hour flying over the Southwest. And the book ends up looking like this in 3 languages, printed at Steinauer Press. Yeah, this is beauty. My brother Sandy designed this, rest his soul. He's gone a year now.
Beautiful book.
Yeah, it's on the back table too. Have a good look at it. Thank you. These are my proofreaders in Osaka. Former student Yuichi Matsukawa and his mom. And there's Saul Steinberg's portrait in the dunes, I guess. And here's a spread from that. It was a great pleasure working with the guys and the women at Steinauer. They put a form together for a press check, and we look at it and say, you know, I want a little more mass in the shadows, but up, and I want a little more light in the highlights, and up more. And they come back, and it was perfect. And then they come back with another form 3 hours later, 8 more pictures, or 16 or whatever it was, and they just got it. We just kind of sat there and watched them lay this ink down for a couple of days, and the book is just tremendous. Because I had to make my film do really weird things to get these values in prints, and they made it work in the book. So I told my brother I wanted a real soft jacket. And he said, okay, we'll print it backwards, we'll print it on the inside of the vellum. And so you get it matches the book perfectly. There it is. If you want to see the ink, it's there. But if you want to give the impression of nothing, which is full of light, it's right on the book. So where are we? We have a long way to go. Oh, geez. Yeah, when Kevin was listing all the things that, all the subjects that people talk about in these wonderful opportunities to share our work, this came up. I just showed you Death Valley, the ambiguous landscape. This is Death Valley, the facts. And these are the end papers. And in the back, this book was purchased at the Emporium, which is 3 blocks from where the book club is now. It's 2 blocks from where my grandfather's studio was in the Flatiron Building in San Francisco. And I think this should go into the collection at Book Club of California. So it'll be back home. Okay. Pictures. That's the first thing I noticed. I found this sheet music cabinet and I thought it would solve all my problems. And actually it has, because 9 of the 11 books marked on these trays are done. And then I refilled it, and it looked like this, and it was kind of neat. And then right away it started looking like this and stuff. And now it looks like this. And there's still 9 books that need to be done in there, and I've gone through all those drawers like 2 or 3 times already. So it keeps me honest. I was in the garage and I found these carousel trays. Here's a lecture from 1998. And I said, geez, what am I gonna do with this? So I dumped it out because I figured I could show you something. And I pushed them around, and those are all pretty interesting. And then I found this one. Hey, there's a self-portrait I could use for an author photograph on a book jacket. And I'd completely forgotten about that. That's done with a 4x5, so it's pretty sharp. Oh, this is to suggest that even if you digitize, your office isn't going to get any neater. Okay. So I photographed in Big Latin. Yeah, got it. And oddities. And landscape oddities. And ice. Cities. The Tide Hut. And there's a sign down there that says the Pacific Ocean. That's the Army Corps of Engineers bay model of San Francisco Bay. Go visit it, it's open to the public now, I think it still is. Strategy, okay. Well, first thing to do is make a whole bunch of miniature books. So I did. And then I made a chart of these books and started making these maquettes that I showed you earlier. And then I gave them titles. This was 2005. So a lot of those are done already. Then I hung them on the wall. That didn't help. And then I looked for negatives, and I had to make a note to myself, no negative, nope. But I don't know where it is. But nowadays, you can scan that and enhance it and make a pretty good small printout of your junk prints. Selections and sorts. So I finally got down to business. Each line in this spreadsheet, each row, sorry, is a book. So there are 11 books up here. And most of them are done. Let's see, that's done. Oop, can't say that. Done. Yeah, that's learning Japanese mostly. Not quite done. Done. Kind of done.
So each column is like a chapter or a section?
No, each column is just how many pictures I can find that went for the row.
Okay.
I'll show you a little more of that. This is the part, picture book talk, where I show you how the sausage is made. So COVID came. No galleries, no museums, publishers are closing their doors, not answering their phones. What am I going to do? I'll just start a blog. So I ran it for 3 years, but it got to be a lot of work. But here's a later one. I just wanted to show you how it looks, real spare, just pictures. And Baron took a look at it and said, hey, that's a book. So I laid out some pages. And then I started filling up the pages, and these are my notes of how it was going to go. And he said, hey, there's your cover. Thank you, Baron. So my uncle had sent me a letter and written my name in his architectural hand on the envelope. So I just said, I can't write my name that beautifully. I'm just going to have Uncle Tom do it for me. So that's my book, and there's my cover. And Baron knows how to find stuff, so I don't have to do it. And there's the whole jacket. Perfect. And there's the book. So, pictures of everything. There's Shasta Dam. Here's one. I hope it'll stick. Some of these are on autoplay. This is supposed to stick. Okay. I was feeling pretty big-headed here because this guy in front of me, I saw him. He had a pocket Instamatic. His negative was this big. And I said, he's not going to get it. And so I backed up here, and I got the pen stocks, which you can drive a school bus through. And the big downstream face of Shasta Dam, and my negative was this big. And then a couple years later, I'm showing this in a talk, and I was properly humiliated because I thought about it. It's always relative. The frame of the pocket Instamatic is 13 by 17 millimeters. The frame of my camera was 56 by 84 millimeters. And the downstream face of Shasta Dam adds up to 13 hectares, or 33 acres, which is about 28 million times the area of my larger negative. So I learn a lot from my own pictures if I take some time. And here's how it appears in the blog with that story, the joke's on me. And here's another spread. So I wrote some things with the pictures, and they came in handy later sometimes. I'm going to back up because Beverly's here. I showed this in my lecture to second grade class. And I talked about how my Leica died, the battery died, so I had a phone in my pocket and I took this picture. And I told the kids that we like to say that the best camera is the one you have with you. And I got this beautiful sheaf of thank you notes a few days later in the mail from Beverly's class. And Charlotte B. wrote to me, I learned that the best camera is the one you hold. Those kids get down to business. The camera with you is worthless. The camera you hold has a chance. So I learned from the second graders something.
They loved you.
Thank you. Okay, here's one. I often get the feeling in a Zen flash that there's no other place to stand where I can place this jewel into its setting. But then again, it may have always been there, gathering brilliance. So it says, I think it's time to collect more of these small town places into a book, which I did. That's the way I would tease my books. I kind of challenge myself to get it going. Here's one. I'll just read one of my favorite run-on sentences. This is Gene Wash Dam, part of the Colorado River water project. The Colorado River is impounded by Parker Dam, and some of that water is held at Gene Wash after a first pump lift. From here, it's pumped up into Copper Basin, a remarkable place before and after the engineering, which feeds a tunnel through Whipple Mountain. Then gravity takes the water 60 miles to Iron Mountain, where another pump station sends it up and through another tunnel at that site. And then it rolls through yet another tunnel under Coxcomb Mountain to Eagle Mountain. And one more lift after that allows the water to run through many more tunnels and siphons all the way down into the Los Angeles Basin. Brian Doyle is a terrific writer, the late Brian Doyle. If you ever want to read free language, marvelous stuff, writes about it, especially basketball and faith. So here's an example of one of the blog magazines. I used to put it out every 6 months, but it was a lot of work. 128 pages of pictures. So there's the 4. They're on the back table if you want to look at them. And please take them home. Before I start on the oddities, this is my idea of a fundraiser for the book club. So you get the tax deduction, but I'm providing all the books. So if you have $2 or more, just put it in the kitty there or mail it in later and take some of these books, and I'll have a note on that later. Okay. Oddities. Some pictures stick to your hand when you try to throw them away, said Gary Van. So I started collecting them. Okay, now you know where you are. Okay? I thought a student mentioned this in class 23 years ago when I was teaching a class called Why People Photograph. So I wrote to her, and she said, no, you said that, Mr. Wayne. She sent me a book of everything she wrote down the next day. And I said, geez, that was really smart. Wherever you are, that's your culture. So that turned into this book, Traveler's Advisories. And there's a spread. Oh, this is my invention, I guess. Photographers don't like words in books. And Henry Wessel and Robert Adams have done a pretty good job of keeping the words down and simplifying it, even though everybody wants to write an introductory essay. So here's all the stuff, and here's a perforation in the book with a dotted line on it. And you are encouraged to tear the page off here and get rid of all the words except for the publication. And I thought this would be a very clever marketing tool because some people would want to do that, but then they need to buy a second copy to collect in its original. There's some of those back there too for you to sequencing. Okay. This starts in color and fades into monochrome, which makes it easier to see this particular landscape, I think. So that's right up there in the hills above Studio City in the Santa Monica Conservancy. Plenty of material there. So that's called brushwork, tracing urban wildlands. Oh, then some more sticky ones. So I never take verticals. But it turned out that they accumulated, and there was a book, a whole book of verticals, and I never take them. I wrote to my Uncle Don, who at this time was only 96, said, Uncle Don, those nice letters you made for my book covers, can you make it for verticals? He wrote back and said, I'm not so good at writing verticals. So I kind of gave up and went back to a little tag that I had made for my box of vertical pictures, and that's the title for verticals. So here's a collaboration between my Uncle Don writing my name and myself at my wit's end, just scribbling out verticals. So his leans to the right, architecturally correct, and mine is backhanded because that's the way I was scribbling that way. But it works out fine, you can use anything. So here's the jacket for that book. I think they're in the back there. Here's another view of my office. Why is it in here? There's a view of my darkroom window. It opened onto a workshop that didn't have any exterior windows. So there it is. Here's my quarantine project. I spelled out quarantine on all the sidewalks and asked the kids to run around and find out how many words they could spell with the words that were contained in quarantine. I paid them a dime if they could get to 10 words. So here's my another one of my tomographic memoirs, my design history. Not that I'm a designer, but I've built stuff, I've invented stuff. There's everything in there, just little bits. This is a window that I put into a little project and my wife photographed me with the hole from the house with window in it. And there's one of my fences. Oh, and I got to use my free logo again. Okay. This was my core competency in the 70s. I like to think of myself as the best street photographer who's not yet known. Old. Photographic evidence that life came out of the sea. So there it is, vital signs. Oop, I hit that too fast. Sorry. There it is. Oh, and there's another book hidden down under there. I don't know. They just keep coming. When I see an interesting line on a map, I like to go there to exchange the aerial schematic view for the ground truth. Southeast of Death Valley, ahead of me, this road goes straight east-northeast for 2 miles, then turns north-northeast for a straight 5, and then due east for 7 more straight miles before crossing an imaginary line into Nevada. There it gets a new name, turns northeast, straight again for 7 more, then tees into Nevada 160, a divided 4-lane highway. That was in the blog, it's not in the book. Oop, hands off. There it is. I don't know, titles just come to me, sometimes 20 years in advance, and then I catch up with them. How was my time, Kevin?
You got some time.
Okay, because I haven't caught up to now yet. Okay, Catalina Isle, I showed you a little teaser. So I said, oh, I better photograph these houses. Turned the corner, bang. And I said, I really need to get this project done. So I really needed to get this project done. So there's the Catalina book, and there's the cover. And then you go down a little farther down the coast and on the mainland, and you're in Ocean Beach, and they have square waves. And wonderful alleys all through the whole community. So there's another book, it's called O.B. Walkabout, and it's a little companion to that one. Events in the landscape is what I like to call these. This starts with the natural scene, goes into the human altered scene, and ends up pretty discouraging. I sent this to Bob Adams, and I said, this is a discouraging book. And he says, oh, I don't think so. I see a lot of land that hasn't been changed yet. That man is so full of hope. And there's the book. I'm very proud of this cover, which you'll see here. These kids playing in the sandy river blend perfectly into this bulldozer repairing San Luis Reservoir's earth-filled dam that had a crack in it. Broadsides, Africa, giraffes. We'll have to go quickly through here. Turned into a bilingual counting book. I used this as an eye test for Beverly students in the second grade. They loved it. It goes from 1 to 15. And on 15, I actually had to crop some giraffes out. There were too darn many giraffes.
Wow.
Okay. Here's a book from 1875. It's the third one written about rowing in English. There are no pictures in it. And I took up rowing when I was 73. And there weren't any pictures in the books. It was just like words about moving your arms and knuckles. And I said, geez, where's the illustrated picture book? So I wrote myself a table of contents. And I kept all my notes from learning from my friend Rex, and from books, and from making mistakes and getting sore. And this is actually the first book I've ever laid out with chapter headings and sort the pictures. But this is another tomographic memoir, just a slice of my life. So I don't have to write the whole thing, I just slice it up and what am I interested in this week? So there are opportunities, you don't even have to be in the boat, but you can't get too far away from it if the wind's blowing. There's my son after 2 weeks of rowing. There's my pal Phil after 65 years of rowing. And there's Rex after 40 years of rowing, but he still looks a little apprehensive, but that's because his boat's this wide. And I discovered that I'm not a painter, but I can have fun. And there's the book, Into My Skull, Out of My Mind. More pictures. We're getting into the new material now, so you'll have to give me a heads up, because I'm speeding up here. I envision this series of books called West, City, Town, Home. So I started with town because I could find the pictures. And there's the cover, and here's the jacket. I'm very fond of this because the one on the left, the larger picture on the left is Ben Lifson's front porch in Massachusetts, my mentor, Cal Arts. The one on the right is my dear friend, Henry Wessel, the view from the side of his house in Point Richmond. And both these guys are gone, and as far as I'm concerned, you can take the middle of the book and throw it away because it's all right here between these two souls. So I started talking with a young friend, Eli Demosthenes, and we talked about what would be an apprehension what would be an anomaly. So it turns out, all you have to do is open a fortune cookie. And so I laid out apprehensions, and I came up with this, and I actually put them into categories again. You know, on my 15th book, I'm actually being rational. And I looked this up in the Oxford English Dictionary. It's a model of consciousness in which nothing is affirmed or denied of the object in question, but the mind is merely aware of it. That's perfect photography, apprehension. And so I scribbled something out, and it looked good, and here are the pictures, some of them. They sorted themselves, really, and they almost sequenced themselves. Okay, so there's the cover. Here's my mom reading Jhumpa Lahiri, and I'm holding wood and tools, and I'm trying to get in this double glazed sliding door, and it's locked. So I have to put everything down, and then I say, and I go click, and then I pick up my tools and go finish the trim work. I don't know, that's photography. And then while I'm at it, why don't I just make my little swash there go with that little lamp cord and go with my name. It's like, it doesn't take any time to find stuff and just move it around. It's like Legos to me. I don't know how it works, but I'm lucky. I usually make a script like this for my talks, but for my San Francisco talk a year and a half ago, I decided to secretly make a book. Nobody knew. My wife didn't know. I made this while I was preparing the talk. And I laid everything out on the floor, and then I decided that that would be the back cover, where the sausage is, where the parts are, and this would be the front cover. And this is the cover for that book, which is right here. There are a bunch in the back, so any tiny or large contribution to the club will get you one of these. And it's actually a syllabus for that talk. But now we have to move forward. And I'll do it efficiently. So I'm not an equestrian, but sometimes I go and do tiny chores for my wife at the barn. And there are all these places, none of them were plumbed, and I just got excited about the quality of building out there. And so 26 gas stations wasn't enough. Catch-22 wasn't a big enough number. It's a perfect title. So I decided it would be called 44 Sheds. There it is. I don't think I brought any of those. I did? Oh, good. So, I think photographers love trees because you have that incredible organic form that means everything in life, and you try to fit it into a rectangle. And so the tree comes to life and the photograph comes to life, and you can't miss. And the camera is democratic if you let it be, and doesn't care how much you put in, it will work with it. So that's a book called Tree. Now, you may wonder why I'm so spare with my design. My wife Debbie took this picture. We went to Joshua Tree and visited a little gift shop, and I thought they might like some books. And the woman grabbed my book, Susie, and took somebody else's book down and put it right there, and it jumps out at you. It's a book that's almost not there, and all that other stuff is so there that I win. Here's Death Valley, ambiguous landscape, and it's holding up very well next to Lloyd Wright. Okay, so then, gee, there's another one of these. I'll just go a little faster because there's some stuff at the end that we need to look at. San Diego, there's a lot of strange city in San Diego. The mall that I'm shooting from is already gone. It's disused as a shopping center. So then we go to the west. So I'm almost there. I have to finish the home book, but we'll get to it. gold panning on the North Fork of the American River. But now you can see Hoover Dam from an air-conditioned viewing platform. Kind of takes away the desert. Folsom Dam. A flood would fill that in 24 hours. Small dam in San Diego County that was overtopping, that's an engineer's nightmare. Here we're on the slope of an earth-filled dam. Makes a nice picture. Marin County, nice place to quiet down in the landscape. Oh boy. These are all kind of odd pictures. So they might fit into the anomalies category. But I only have one copy of that book back there. It's called, what is it called? True Enough, Everyday Anomalies. There's only one thing wrong with this picture. This isn't one of mine. I mean, I took that within a block of my house. You don't have to go anywhere. If you're ready and easy on your toes, the world will come to you. There it is, True Enough. Okay, now we're in uncharted territory. I have a lot of pictures of people, but I never take pictures of people. So, I was getting over some big stuff, and I always do 2 books at a time. I can save money by doing 2 different versions of the same spec. And, but I only felt like doing one. But it ended up being twice as thick. So here is this. It started out as an exhibition proposal in 1993. Yeah, for the 20th anniversary of my teaching at Grossmont, but it never went anywhere then. So I'm doing it now. And since I've been retired for 20 some years, has field trips from now and then. I mailed this out to everybody in it, and I'm getting letters back from people from 100 years ago. It's really marvelous. There's all. Okay, so what? Hey David, what's your next book? Let's see. Oh, more people pictures. And there are 3 categories. There's family and friends, and there's family matters, there's friends, and there's a secret title in there you can barely read. But since it's going to come out instantly, I can share it with you. Not necessarily known for their music. Okay, that takes care of everybody else. Right? Anyway, I'm going off the end here because I never show anybody any book that's not done, but you're special. Okay? And this is a special occasion. So there's a picture that's hanging in my office. That's not a computer anymore. And here's the schematic for it. And here's the title page. I think I can translate that for you. I have a friend who traveled with me the length of Mexico in 1979. I'm catching up with my stuff. And I asked him if he would, I asked him if my title was any good. Like I wanted a traverse, I wanted a length of Mexico word. And he said, I think recorrido is a more idiomatic rendering of transit, traverse, or winding through. Recorrer means to travel, walk, tour, roam, wander, rove. Okay, that's the book. So it looks like this. It's bilingual, by the way. Why not honor my subjects? It was a long trip, but a great one. Mexico City has everything. Back in 1979, there were 12 million people there. So here's a layout page. Just wanted to show you my solution. Adjectives and adverbs in Spanish are long. They're really compound, and it's hard to make clean line breaks. So I use a wider column for the Spanish. And then I don't want to say see page 23 when I write about a specific experience. So I use these little ornaments, which is a tiny little piece of the picture. And then people will have to remember that that was a tiny little piece of the picture, and then they can refer from this back to the picture pages. But then there's another batch. They were digging up the streets of Tijuana for a couple of years, fixing up the centro there. And I went down every weekend and photographed. Life was going on completely normally, climbing over all this rubble. And at the time, it was a spectacular open place, and you could just enjoy being a gringo there, looking at stuff. So this is called Mexico Tijuana, because that's the name from the Gumia natives who called it the place that's near the water. So I like to put puzzles on the front of the books. So this is all done when I get home from this talk. I'll send them off and start proofing. They're building the Iberian Peninsula right here. Okay, so wonder why I have a picture of my dreamboat in this talk. Okay, I took delivery of this boat right after Christmas 2023, and 2 weeks later I got a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. So what I want to tell you is what I care about. That's diagnosis. What I care about is my people and my rowing and my books, and that's what's keeping me going. That's why I'm standing here. Besides, they have terrific physicians, and I asked them for a prescription. Here's one from Jay Shapiro. Row 10K 3 times a week for 25 years. Okay, I'll do my best. And here I am doing a little varnish on this 40-year-old boat that was in mint condition. Hardly ever been a pocock. And here I am in the ER in between surgery and chemotherapy and all those other things. But you can always take a picture if you have a camera in your hand.
You're holding.
And the boat was only $700, so I jumped on it. But it cost $350 to have it hauled all the way up to Fremont. Where my old-time friend Phil, he's older than I am, but he's been rowing since high school, so he's tough. Anyway, we got it down to the beach, and I got a prescription from my surgeon, rowing, and that's the water there is up there. It's like going to heaven. Like, there's no way that water could support the weight of a boat. How could it do that? It's like air, but it works. And so there I am after chemo, and now I'm after radiation, and I'm going up there on Sunday to meet this guy. And we're gonna huddle around the bays, having a great old time and being alive and healthy. So about 2 weeks after my diagnosis, I said, well, I'll just have to write a book. I was gonna write a book about my 5th year of rowing, but then this happened. And I said, well, I'm gonna write a book about my inspiration that keeps me going through this difficult process. And if people wanna do gardening or chess or writing or flying in a sailplane, if that's their passion, I wanna encourage them to do it. And I have all my docs supporting me in this. And I designed the cover right away, and now I've got, you can imagine, this is my medical record. This is my notes about all the amazing people who have kept me going. And the kind of encouragement I can pass on to anybody. So I've got some cancer kicker stickers for you back there. You can take those with you. And if you really want to have a lot of books, then you'll have to get a cancer kickers Cancer Kickers coffee mug, which I can do too, all from this same press, Smart Press, marvelous people. And we're done, and thank you to my wife Debbie. And thank you, everybody. A reminder, any contribution of any size to the book club will get you any book that's still left on the table.
Do you want to take a question or two? We have some
Yeah,
time
oh,
for
I'm
just a
sorry.
couple questions.
I'm
We
sorry.
have any questions? We'll do one here. I'm going to turn the lights up. So,
Yeah.
right here in the front.
So, two things, David.
Yeah.
What's the secret to being a good teacher? And what's your favorite way to photograph people?
Maybe it's. I don't know much about teaching anymore. A lot of examples. Okay. I guess we could switch that out.
Oh, well, we'll leave it on. For
Okay,
just
then I'll
be
just
easier.
move this open so it doesn't show up the weird screen, the blue screen. Yeah.
Can I say something, Don?
Oh.
You said it. You said it's not the teaching you miss, it's the people.
Right,
And
but
I think your relationship with the people in your medium that I really quite.
no, I mean, I did say it, but I also thought of something. So I never used notes when I was teaching. And I never had that tray of slides I built in advance because I was driving 1,000 miles north to give a little slide talk to my summer workshop. And I just left them there. But what I did every week was Monday morning I'd choose slides from my talks about photography. And then that was me then, with what I just learned over the weekend. And so that was fresh and I could be enthusiastic about what I was talking about because I just picked it. Because if you don't care about what you're teaching, then don't share it. You don't want more of it if you don't care about it, right? You want more of what you care about, and if that's projected, I think people pick up on it. I mean, I'm getting the most amazing notes from people from 1973 that I haven't heard anything from. And just today, a letter from a student who's in the field trips book. He's this high out in the desert, a former student. And he wrote me this amazing note how whatever I said was the right thing for him to hear at that time, and he's guided me. That's the secret sauce, and I didn't know what it was at the time, and I'm just getting inklings about it now from their feedback over the years with the help of the photographs that triggered their memories. And
How about another question? Do we have another one?
oh, I'm sorry. That was two parts.
That was two parts. Was there another part for that question?
You told me once your favorite way to catch people off guard when you're something about
Oh, it's not like this, it's like this.
parades, you know.
Yeah, well, I put my feet over here and I take a picture over there. And I don't stand there with a smoking gun. And nowadays, if you have a camera with an electronic shutter, you don't let go here. You let go over here and it'll make the noise, this shutter winding noise down here. But usually it's like, you know, I'm taking a picture right here, Mike, but my eyes are glazed like a proper meditation gaze. I'm seeing everything, but I'm not looking at anything, but I know exactly what he's doing. I go. And then I didn't make eye contact, and my feet, okay, this is better. Okay, I've got his posture, I've got his askance look, and I've got all that without looking at him. So I have control over my frame, that's what I need. That is everything that's there, that's my job. He may be front and center and top priority at the same time. If all of this does not work, it's a distraction. And those pictures fall off real quickly.
So when David's in the room, when you least expect it, expect it, because he's gonna snap a photo of it.
And Gary Winogrand said, use your viewfinder. You know, people try to do street photography like this. But Helen Levitt didn't look at people, but she had a little Winkelsucher on her light, so she could look this way. Paul Strand did that too. All those portraits in Egypt, those people sitting down in the streets. He had a mirror on his big reflex, I think it was. But if you're not looking through the Finder, you're wasting a lot of film or pixels or whatever you call them.
Okay, we'll do one last question if anybody has one. David has like, what, 2-3 dozen samples back there, books and
They're
cards and
examples. They're, I wrote
for you to
it down.
look at.
Let me see if I can find what I wrote down. Anyway,
What you brought.
it's something like, if you contribute to the book club at any level, $2 is a perfectly good number. Don't read the back of the book where it tells you a price. That's not happening. Anyway, you can help the book club acquire books and continue the programs. And you can help me by making my book production and publication a zero-sum game. Okay? So please take them home and put them to work in your lives. Thanks,
Incredible
everybody.
offer. Thanks, Steve. So if you are interested in any of those books or cards or whatever else, there's a bunch of stuff back there. I already have a couple of things at the book club library. David has already been super generous to us. But please check them out. A donation of any size lets you take it home. We have envelopes on the table which you could use if you want to mail us a donation. There are also envelopes in the back. You could just put a couple dollars in there. Every little bit helps the Book Club of California. So please check that out. Talk to David while he's still here. You might want to sit down and relax for a while. You've been working for the last hour. And thanks everyone for joining us. We really appreciate having you. Please join us for another book club event next month. We're here the second Wednesday of every month for our book club program, but you can find that at bccbooks.org/programs online. Thanks everyone for coming, and we'll see you soon.